Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Home Staging Talk Show Live. I'm Jenny Norris, your host, and I am the chairwoman for the International Association of Home Staging Professionals. Welcome, welcome. Today is episode 100. Can you believe it? 100 episodes. And so happy to be bringing you segments that you can go back and watch all the other 99 shows that we've done and learn. We have awesome guests that we've interviewed throughout the last couple of years of the show, and you can learn a lot if you're new and you want to learn particular topics. We've had marketing, we have strategy, we have mindset, we have coaching people on, industry trends, just all sorts of topics. So the goal of the show when we started it was just to initiate a conversation within the home staging industry and just talk about what works and what challenges we have sometimes building our businesses and be able to share exciting news and so forth. And so anyway, episode 100. So thank you for joining me. If you could let me know that you hear me and see me, those of you that are tuning in, that would be awesome. Got a great show for you today. And so before we get to our guest, I will do some announcements. First of all, we do have Senior Staging Specialist designation. That's going to be taught on the 26th. That is Monday, I believe. Next Monday, the 26th. June Carter will be teaching that as a live webinar, so she'll be able to see you and so forth, and then it will be recorded. So those of you that are not able to attend it live, you can still, get your designation by watching the webinar, and there'll be a test and so forth, just like the other designations we have. So that is exciting. So there's still space to register for that course, and if you want to learn about working with the senior market, the mature adult market, which is, everybody's aging up and people are living longer, and so being able to work with that market segment, if that's something you want to learn about, is going to be very valuable. So you can earn some more credentials. Hey, Michelle, thank you for letting me know. Good morning. And then we have a new course that we're going to be rolling out, and here is the information on this. So this is not really a course. This is a series of webinars that will be taught live. And what it is for financial business planning for you. And so going over three different topics initially, like, if you're newer and you're wondering, like, how should I set my business up? Is it better to be a sole proprietor, an LLC, a corporation? How do I know? What do I do for, setting up structure to be able to pay for independent contractors or employees? What's the difference between those two? Talk about cash flow and, planning and budgeting. And also ultimately retirement, planning for your retirement, because when we're self-employed, we don't have a 401k program through some company that we're putting into. So as an independent business person, as the sole proprietor, an LLC, business owner, you need to set up your finances, your financial future for yourself. And so there's ways to be able to do that. And so this will be a complimentary, not free, complimentary webinar series. It's going to start on Thursday, the 29th, and every 2 weeks there'll be another session. And again, these will be recorded as well and then be made available to IAHSP members. And so people who aren't yet members of the association can join and access these sessions. And then the people that are teaching them, Frank Moyer and Kim Moyer, who have a very successful financial planning firm and work with all sorts of business owners, will be available to work with people who want to learn more and so forth about how to structure business. And it's not a matter of if you should do that, it's a matter of when. And to do it sooner than later for planning purposes really will help you in the long run to be positioned in a really great way to take advantage of your financial situation, to either expand or put it away for retirement or be able to do other things. And so anyway, excited to be able to offer this to the industry, and even talking about getting out of debt and being able to pay off debt that you may have, whether it's through your company or other things that could be your property, your home, it could be credit cards, it could be other type of debt that you have, and being able to pay that off much sooner than you would think you would be able to get out of debt. So that's the strategy, and so we will be having that again roll out next Thursday, and these will be taught webinar, either Zoom or go to webinar, and again recorded, so that will be good. excited for that. And we'll be having more of that on our, to learn more about that, you can go to the IAHSP.com site, and then we'll have a link to the financial business planning education for you. All right. Another event coming up that we're excited about is the Advanced Teacher Training. Yay! And that's going to be in February. Our goal is to hold it live, and this, of course, will be all predicated on what's happening with the virus situation and social distancing and so forth. So space is limited, and this is the 6-figure and above stagers. So if you have a 6-figure and above company, or you're getting there and you think by February you'll hit that target, and come join us. And it is an open workshop, collaborative discussion and learning time with other industry leaders and company owners who are at a, an advanced level. So right now we're planning on holding it in Jacksonville, Florida, and working on finalizing the details on the location. And the week prior to that, so that's a Saturday and a Sunday, the 13th and 14th of February. And so, it is an all-day session, and we cover a lot of really valuable information. So the week prior to that, the week of February 8th, we'll be teaching the master's course. So that will be coming. It's going to be a condensed master's. That will be taught that same week in Jacksonville. And we will also be hopefully adding a day with Joanne Leonard Weary and her color and decorating and course. We're going to kind of weave some information in for people who come and attend. So we're putting that whole package together for people. And so you can get advanced training for your business if you're 6 figures and above. If you're not there yet, come take the masters. I'll tell you how to get there, how to get to that level. And again, we hopefully we'll be able to teach these live. If you already paid for the AST for 2020 for the live conference, you automatically will be moved into this one. And if for any reason we can't hold it live, then we'll just move it to, we always do this after our live conference in September. So right now we are planning on being in Denver, of course, in September for our conference. Very excited about that. So that's the 24th, 25th, and 26th of September 2021. And, planning for a great event. Again, we'll see how the year goes. Just really hoping and praying that, everything settles down and gets back to whatever our new normal is going to be. But just really want to be able to see everybody in person and put on the big event that we have become known for, and our members have become accustomed to attending and really having a great time and learning. At the Advanced Teacher Training course, we will have guest speakers. So right now, we are super excited to be able to share that Johnny Fowler will be joining us. And if you watch the virtual conference or listen to him on this talk show, or also on our membership call with IHOSP, he's a wealth of knowledge about social media. And I know we just sort of scratched the surface of what he's able to share to help us be able to navigate social media, how to promote ourselves online in the best and effective way, and to understand the algorithms that Facebook and Instagram and even LinkedIn and so forth, how they structure things, because you want to be visible and be seen. And so there's tricks that he teaches us to learn that, plus a lot of really great insights. So I'm excited that he will be there, as well as Chris Widener. And those of you again that attended the virtual conference, you heard from Chris, and he is, as you hopefully know, a best-selling author, 21 books he's put out, motivational speaker, business coach, businest speaker, top 50 motivational speakers in the world he's been ranked. So he will be at our AST, and excited to hear what he has to share in this more intimate setting. So I'm excited for that. And we also have confirmed my 2 favorite ladies at design and decorating and color trends. We've got Joanne Leonard Weary and Sandra Reyes, who will be joining us for the Advanced Teacher Training as well, and we'll be identifying other industry coaches and speakers and so forth that on a particular topic that we'll be having join us as well. So it's a time to really learn about how to run your business, and we do openly talk about challenges that we face, and things we'd like to learn about as far as business structure and growth, and roles within the company. Ultimately, there's some people that like to stay in the company and work at a particular role. So maybe you like doing the creative, so you need to learn how to delegate and offload the business side, or maybe it's vice versa. And then ultimately, do you want to have the company run without you really having to touch it? So that could be a goal of people. So these are all the things we talk about in the session. And one of the great things is, no matter how big a company is or how long somebody has been staging, we all experience the same challenges. We all have the same challenges with people who are reliable, or situations that arise with clients, marketing ourselves and so forth. It's all a common denominator. And the size of the company and the years in business, that may allow somebody to have a much larger company than somebody who's newer. But the challenges we face, they're the same, and we've either experienced what somebody is going to share, or we're going through it ourselves, or maybe we'll go through it in the future. And just being able to talk about things and processes and systems that work to make things more efficient has been extremely valuable. And this is a collaboration of industry leaders teaching. So it's not just me, keeping it to myself and my association, and not allowing anybody from the outside to come in and talk. Started about 2 or 3 years ago that I opened it up for collaboration. And initially, some people were sort of surprised and worried, concerned about inviting external people in. But the fact is that nobody knows it all. Nobody does. And if they tell you they do, they're lying, because they don't know it all. And there's people that are experts in other areas of business that I'm not an expert in, and vice versa. So it's great to have other minds and talented people that are knowledgeable come and be able to share and teach and learn from these people. So I don't have an issue with it. I think it's wonderful to collaborate and have people that aren't necessarily in leadership in our association come and share and teach, because we can all learn and grow. So that's why we do the advanced teacher training the way we do it, as a collaboration, and then have people that come in that are knowledgeable and experts in a particular subject area that we want to learn about. So if you have somebody that you'd like to suggest can come, let me know. We are, again, on the East Coast. I'm doing my best to try to keep some of the speakers that will be coming from that region, versus having to fly people clear across the country. But regardless, if you have somebody you think I should talk to regarding the AST, just let me know, and I will reach out to them. So I'm excited for that, and you'll be able to register for that now, and then we'll give the details on the master's course coming up soon as we finalize all the details and dates on that. All right. Your IAHSP CDE, congratulations to all the people that have earned your CDE so far. It is available as a standalone course, so those of you that didn't attend the virtual conference, you can earn your IAHSP CDE simply by going to our website and then purchasing it. And there are 4 sessions you have to watch, and there is a test you take, and it's, you can have the test up as you're watching and you go along. And it's just mostly, the test is to make sure you're listening and paying attention, because we don't just give initials out because somebody wrote a check or with a credit card and paid to attend an event. You actually have to learn something. And I did have a person who, said, I don't have time to watch all of those, and I should get my designation. And that's just not how it works. Not in our world, and not in the real estate world. You have to attend, and you have to prove you comprehended and learn the information. So, as soon as you take your test, we get notified, and you'll be sent your logo and a certificate that you can promote your achievement and receiving your IAHSP cultural diversity expert designation. And so if you attended the conference and you haven't done that yet, please make sure that you go and if you watch the segments, take the test, so we make sure to recognize you with your logo. Just know that if you miss a lot of answers, you'll be asked to rewatch either a section or the entire thing, because you have to pass 75% or higher in order to receive the actual designation. So I've only had a few people that I've had to say, watch this one particular session over again. And otherwise, it's been well received, and happy to be sending out the certificates to everybody who has received those. Right. What else? Let's see here. I think that is all of it. Okay, good. So we are going to bring in our guest speaker for today. Our guest. I'm going to bring her in. We have Deborah Plowden joining us. So Deborah, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good.
Good. Hey, for those who don't know, Deborah won the Top Individual Stager Award. There were multiple, I think 6 people that were recognized, but she was the top vote getter. So I think it's your 2nd year in a row doing that, right? Last year, weren't you the top vote getter?
Yes.
Yeah.
Amazing. I amaze myself.
The 2-time top. Exactly. Well, welcome. To tell people who you are in case they don't know.
Okay, I'm Deborah Plowden. I am the owner and CEO of Debonair Home Staging and Redesign. I am here in Houston, Texas, where it's nice and warm. I've been in business since 2016, and I am an accredited staging professional master. And I am the diversity director for IHOSP. So I guess that's pretty much it. Got
Yeah,
a couple of other hats, but it's
that's
okay.
right. Yeah, and it was fun. She came out recently. We were here in Denver because that's where you used to live in this area. So she came out for a family event. So I was able to see her for a little bit of time, like an hour or so. It was fun.
Yeah, it was fun.
So Deborah she's here. She has different roles she wears. So she runs her company. She's also on the IHOS board in a very important role, and she serves in her chapter for IHOSP as well. And so it is. There's a lot of people that appreciate people who volunteer and step up and serve, and not everybody is cut out to do that or wants to do that. So I just want to say for everybody that we appreciate the role that you're in and that you are willing to serve. And so one of the things I did want to be able to share today is just an update on the SIDC, the Staging Industry Diversity Coalition, which we formed in January, February, right?
February.
February, yeah. And it was in response to a lot of the things that were happening around the country. And then, of course, COVID hit. So things this year has been weird. And so initially you were having discussions with other, women and hopefully men would come along too of color in the industry. So what has happened so far this year? Kind of give everybody an update.
So first of all, I want to say thank you for establishing the coalition. We have been meeting once a month now, every Sunday, first Sunday of the month at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. And we have about 6 to 7, stagers that come permanently. Some are in and some are not on the calls. So what we've been doing is just working first to establish to see if there is anything that the coalition can help with, or are they having individual problems in their areas? If what do they need? What is needed? And we've been talking about that, with each individual stager. So we are forming a coalition now to move forward to see how we can best put some of the ideals that we have into place. So, I think you and I had talked about a little bit more about opening up, making it so that more people of color can come into the industry. So those are some of the things that we've been working on and talking about and collaborating with. Is this process is a little bit slow because we are always trying to get to know one another. We have stagers from everywhere. We have, even as far as Canada, we've had some people pop in from Canada. We've had, just everywhere. So we're just getting to know each other, and then we're going to set some roles that we'll have in the coalition as far as, some leadership roles and things like that. So we're working on it. It's coming slow, but we're working on it.
Which is great, yeah, and I really appreciate that too, because I know it's people have a lot of things going on, and so to be able to take the time for this important initiative, I really appreciate it. And so I know that kind of backing up when you said access to the industry, that was one of the things, is making sure that we're not an industry that is unattainable to people of color because of finances or some other avenue. And so to my knowledge, the education providers are open to anybody being able to take the course. Sometimes finances are an issue, and so being able to give scholarships, and we've already done 2 this year. And I'm open to giving more. Just people have to write and let us know why they want to enter the industry and what their background is and so forth. Being able to give scholarships even for the conference to people who really want to attend, and because not everybody has the same financial background or ability to pay for things. I know one of the ladies that we gave a scholarship for education to, she she works, she's a mom, her husband's very ill, and really has a passion for staging, but just couldn't afford to get funds together for the class. And so something like that is, it's easy to be able to say, yes, let's give a scholarship to them. And so I'd like to see more of that done, not just with the education company that I'm aligned with, but also all the educators who are watching, being able to say, what can you do to help make access to our industry equal, if you will, to a degree, or at least offer opportunities for people who really want to get into it and have a, have a passion for it, but just may not have the funds to be able to pay for the education. What can you do to help, whether that's a scholarship or a partial scholarship or just something to help them? Think about that. So that's a challenge I toss out to all the other companies and all the other educators out there. I think that's important. And then we'd also talked about, within the industry, if do we observe any sort of, discrimination or things like that within we do want to be more, mindful of that. So are you guys discussing that as well?
Yes, we had some discussion about that. And, you know, with the discussion, we're really just trying to get to the root to see if it's just maybe, sometimes it just maybe personalities, or if it really is that there is some discrimination going on there. So we are working through the core roots to find out for sure. And so far, we haven't really uncovered that. We found some hiccups in a couple of chapters. You're aware of that, but we were able to kind of pivot a little bit around that to make that better. So yeah, and that's what this coalition is about. Is all about awareness, not about attacking or making one group stand above another. It's just about awareness. And like I said, I do appreciate you giving us the opportunity to see if that has been. And so far, things are going good. We haven't really come across that just yet. So
Good. Yeah. So people that are watching, if you want to get involved, you can reach out to Deborah to talk to her about, what they're working on, and then opening it up, because right now it's predominantly it's all Black people on the coalition. Um,
right.
and so you're going to open it. You had shared with me that you wanted to open it up to other minorities, whether it's Hispanic or East Indian or whatever, and to be able to, Asian or whoever. So people that if you're watching and you want to be part of that, and I think this is an issue that, has become politicized, but it's not a political issue. It's just a human moral issue, human rights and moral issue. It just has nothing to do with politics and whether somebody's liberal or conservative. Nobody has a claim on, being a better person when it comes to this issue. And so that's something that, regardless of background, people can participate and have a voice. And it really is about, just making sure that as an industry that we aren't overlooking something that may be happening, or it's something that's, part of the industry that we weren't aware of. And as Deborah's saying, I'm not really aware of anything like that. That people are, purposely, hey, Teresa, purposely discriminating. I don't see that. But of course, if that happens, we would want to know about it to be able to, help educate those people that might be doing that. And then I think even being able to educate people in the industry, you have shared some of your experiences you've had as a stager, and even just as a person, that are discriminatory. And so just making people aware that these things can happen. Your session, by the way, for the IHOSP CDE, I thought you made some really, really great points about what people might find in a Black American home. And then you went and you talked about just being mindful of people on your team, and
Right.
how to consider the fact that they're a minority, how they may be experiencing things different than somebody who's not a minority. So let's talk a little bit about that, because I thought those were really good points.
Yeah, sometimes I think that, maybe people forget, but you have to think about that. It's something some people probably don't want to think about. But just even in my own situation where I had went into a neighborhood, I wasn't thinking about it at first my own self, and then something just kind of jarred my thought pattern, and I was like, hey, this I'm sitting out in front of this house, and the people inside don't really know who I am because I'm waiting on this truck, and they could convey this as being something else than what it is. And so that popped into my mindset. So if it's popping into my mindset, I just say that other people need to be aware. If you're a business owner, and you do, I mean, it is what it is. We are where we are today. But the only way to make it better is to talk about it and to put some processes in place. If you are sending your stagers out into a neighborhood that, and they are of color or Black, and they are in a neighborhood that, predominantly that's not the group of people that live there, you might want to be aware of that. So, and if there is an incident, what if the police are called? Do you have processes in place? How are you going to help your stager who was there to do the job for you, or for your company, or for that company? How are you going to, what are your procedures and processes to be put in place? Now, we hope that you never have to use these processes, but I would say put them in place so that you know what would happen, that the stager knows what would happen. And we are where we are today. So I would just encourage people to put processes in place. If the police is called, what would you do? What should that stager do? What's the first thing should they do? Make sure that they are well identified with your company. They have on T-shirts or polo shirts that has your name on it. Maybe you want to give them a generic card from your company. Maybe it doesn't have to have their name on it, but just a generic card on there that says, hey, I'm from, this company. I'm working with this company. Because I know some staging companies that aren't like really, big. They don't have, they may not have shirts right now that have their logo on them. Sometimes people will just say, okay, just wear Black. We'll all come. We'll all have on Black, as far as our clothing. And so, you never know, because that person may get there a little bit ahead of you, and they're,
Right.
It's just a safety precaution is all it is. And just make sure that, you have some procedures and some processes in place, because I think it's very important in today's world. So
I agree. And people that are watching, if you have employees, you can tell them this is your uniform, you wear this. If they're independent contractors, you can provide things to them, but it's their choice of whether they wear it or not. And so at least, telling them to wear a particular color, that's good. I think the business card is excellent, whether it's, your card you could give, so your team has a copy of your cards. They could even give that out if you don't want to produce generic ones, but I think that's an excellent idea. And I just ordered team jackets and shirts, and actually masks too, from Custom Ink, customink.com. Their prices are fairly reasonable. So we did zip up hoodies, and then the t-shirts, we have Black and also some like turquoise blue ones. And it just makes you look more professional, and the team is all cohesive. And I think that's really considering what has been going on, that people might be suspicious when he rolls up in a big truck. I mean, first of all, they should be able to be identified. And I'm not always, if a neighbor comes out and they're nosy, I'm actually like, well, that's good, because we've all heard about the people that come and steal the stuff out of the house and come rolling up in a vehicle, and they're not the stager, and they take all of our stuff. So if there's a nosy neighbor that's wants to know what's going on, that's not necessarily a bad thing. But if they're racist, that is bad. And you don't want people to be, and the fact is there are people out there, whatever age they are, and they may have had an experience. And so now they have this bias against a particular race or, ethnic group. And one of the team members on in my company, she's Hispanic, and she experienced that. Came up to a house, and I think they were, I guess we were staging. And so the truck hadn't gotten there yet, and I hadn't gotten there yet. And so the man, the homeowner, husband, came out, and he was like, acting like all suspicious and kind of rude. He was actually rude to her. And she's younger, but she wasn't impolite. She wasn't like doing anything weird. She just said, hi, I'm here with Sensational I'm Staging, and we're here to, to stage the house. And he just was like, didn't quite understand, like, why is this person, and she's got tattoos. And so people are going to judge you based on what you look like. And that's unfortunate. So I think it is, very wise to have, gear that identifies them. It could even be a hat they're wearing, or something that just says the company name. They know that they're supposed to be there. And so I think that was really smart. And then you're right, the procedures that if the police are called, what would they, knowing what their rights are, but it's also what they should say, being able to hand the card. This is why I'm here. And hopefully the police are cool about it,
Right.
and it can even just be, not even related to race or skin color. We had an incident where staging a condo in Denver, and the person condo manager told the truck park here, and space wasn't big enough. And so as he figured that out, my driver, swung the truck around and we hit a car. And I know
Oh my goodness.
he hit a car. And then, we were blocked into, he drove down. And so there was nobody there. I mean, there was it was like another condo building across the street. So we didn't know whose car it was. Well, he didn't have a card to leave. And so I thought, well, he should have had my card to leave on the windshield. So then they told the building manager, this is what happened. And so, we took care of it, met with the police because it's Denver hit and run, because they thought it was a hit and run. I go, it wasn't a hit and run. We told the manager, I got the information, so we're taking care of it. And the insurance is, my insurance takes care of it. So, but that could even happen. And so the team needs to be prepared for whatever scenarios might come their way. And,
Right.
and, to be taught not to engage if somebody does get hostile or whatever it is, there should be protocol in place. Because you just don't know. I mean, I don't know all the details about there's a police officer in Houston that was killed yesterday. I heard on the radio.
Yeah, I heard a little bit about that.
Yeah, and it was, I don't know what situation. I don't know, it's not there were like a routine traffic stop. Anything can happen. I don't know if it was a traffic stop or not, but the bottom line is people's emotions are on edge, and there's a
Yeah.
lot of you know anger, and people are frustrated, and a lot of just emotions that are not necessarily positive, that people are just really charged up, and that stuff can happen. And so being able to teach them to de-escalate a situation, not
Right.
engage if they do get challenged or whatever it is. Fortunately I've never experienced that so far, and we stage, a lot of people do, we stage all over the place. We go into nice parts of town, and we go into parts of town that aren't so nice, and
Yes.
that's what we do.
Right. And I agree with you. Our companies are all over the place, and I'm not saying that this is going to happen. I'm just saying have it in place in case it does happen, because just like you said, Jenny, today our culture, just the whole atmosphere of the United States is kind of just, I don't know what word to use that's not negative, but we're just, like you said, it's high tension, as, we don't know what's happening, and so much is going on that people are just, I don't know sometimes if they stop to think first before making decisions, or it's just, what's happening, maybe their own background, their own backstory is happening, and they just feel like, oh my gosh, I just need to take it out on somebody. I'm not quite sure. But it's a lot of high tension right now. And so we as owners of our companies, we just need to be on alert. As we say in the military, just be on alert for that. Not saying that it happened. I hope it doesn't happen to anyone or any company, but just be on alert, because, just so much is going on. That's all I can say.
Yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of, as you said, a lot of, there's negative energy, and people are, I think, very reactionary. And then there are some people that are deliberately out there, causing problems. I mean, that's their whole intent. And so, I don't think stagers are being targeted, or real estate agents, even for that matter. I know in the past, realtors have been victimized by people, for example, who have been displaced from their homes, and or losing their houses. And so you hear stories about them getting shot, because the properties are being foreclosed, and the realtor goes to get cash for keys or whatever it is. And so there's been times there's been at least, I don't know, a handful of people who've been killed in their role. And so, to my knowledge, I've never heard of a stager being attacked or harmed in any way in properties. And so it's just, but we do want to be mindful and think about that, because we are in a people industry, and we're going into properties, and there's just a lot of, there are some strange people out there. And so just being on alert. And that's why I don't stage solo. I know in the beginning I had to, but being able to have at least one other person there for safety, I think, is important. I also think, in the world of cell phones and so forth, if there is ever an altercation with something, being able to record what's going on is important. Yeah, and so you can document things, and then having that other person there to back up what happened is also important.
Yeah,
So
definitely today's world send out in teams. Give your company and your stages procedures. You go in, you lock the door, you don't
yeah,
open the door. If you have to, speak through the door and say, hey, you have to come back when we're out of here. All of those things. So it's something to think about for sure with the culture of where we are now,
yeah,
the
because you know,
climate, I should say, of where we are now.
yeah, because safety is important. So I remember listening to a self-defense person, a guy talk about procedures. I guess it was a former sheriff, and he was talking about like when you're going into vacant houses, make sure that you close the door, lock it, so that and that somebody knows where you are. And so I'm like, okay, we're really going to follow this protocol. So the next house we staged, we did that. We shut the door and locked it, but I left the key on the outside of the door. So when the delivery company came, they just unlocked the door and came in. I go, how did you get in? They go, you left the key
Oh,
in the actual lock, which sometimes you do that when you get in a lockbox here. So that was just sort of funny. I go, well, so much for being like protected.
yeah,
I've only had a couple times in my staging life that there's been people barge in unexpectedly and they usually are neighbors or something, but it totally catches you off guard because you're like, I wasn't expecting them to be here, and why are you here? Or you arrive at the house and somebody's in the home, and you're like, who are you? It could be a contractor or something, but you just want to make sure that you're safe. And when I've done previews, and I know it's in a marginal part of town, I don't go by myself. I'll bring somebody, whether it's my husband or a son or a colleague, so that we're not
right.
looking at this by ourselves, because that's important. And there's just a lot to be mindful of in staging. And so this is just yet one more thing that's really at the forefront, and I don't see it going away. I feel like it's something that I don't want it to go away as far as conversation and being aware. I'd love it to get to the point where it doesn't matter what color somebody is or what their background is, that they're looked
Right.
at for their talent and skills and so forth, and what they can bring to the process versus what they look like. If they're male, female, gay, straight, white, black, Asian, whatever. I mean,
Right.
old, young. I mean, there's even ageism that takes place, and right. And as the older we get, we're going
Yeah.
to experience that more. But the younger people, I know that they're looked at as they're not as qualified because they're younger. They couldn't possibly be able to give advice to a homeowner who might be 55 and they're 22 or 23, and yet they're trained and they are very qualified. And so that's discrimination of younger people. And then you have the reverse with the older. There are stagers that are 60s, even 70s. And as long as you have your mind and ideas and you want to keep doing this, you can. And so I hope that we don't get to the point where people look at like, oh, you're this old crusty person, you can't relate to a younger, Gen Z. Like, I don't know what they would want for their property. And so part of that is also staying up on demographics and trends and what the
Right.
different generations want, and being able to communicate that, and dressing the part, being contemporary in our look and clothing and so forth, so we don't look like an old fart. But I mean, there's a lot of ways people get discriminated against, and
Oh,
uh,
yeah, definitely.
yeah,
For sure. Um, but I wanted to backtrack when you were talking about you were in the home and someone came and knocked on the door. That happened to myself and another lady that was working with me. It was about a little close to 7 p.m. And we were just trying to finish up, right? And all of a sudden it was like a knock at the door, and we like our eyes get this big. We look at one another because I wasn't expecting anyone. And so I went to the door, but I didn't open it. I go, who is it? And the lady said that she was the cleaning lady. And I was thinking, the cleaning lady? Like, is this a trick or what? So I eased the door open. And so she started talking. Well, I was asking her who had sent her. And she told me some name that I wasn't familiar with. Well, the back end of the story was that it was an investment property. So I was dealing with the investor. She had dealt with the realtor, who was two different
oh
names, and I didn't know who the realtor was. So, long story short, we finally, kind of got through it, but I didn't let her in the house, needless to say. And she was pretty upset at me. Like, she was very mad because she's like, I came for, 45 minutes or whatever. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. We cannot let you into the home. I'm so sorry. I didn't know you were coming. So
yeah, and
things like
that's
that.
where the agent needs to know. But furthermore, it's also, you don't want people coming in while you're working. It's like, just from a timeline, the cleaner's supposed to be there after. I like to have them come before we stage, but, because they may
Right.
move around. But that's interesting. Yeah. I mean, I think, and you were smart because you don't know who the person is knocking on the door, and, the different other discrimination that's out there type of thing. It's not life threatening. So the racial discrimination is, I mean, there could be something, people could take action against somebody because of their skin color and
Right.
background, or they judge them because they're a gangbanger because they have tattoos and stuff like that. And, those are just, the generation that does that, the millennials and so forth, and the Gen Z, it's a way to express themselves.
Right.
And so other generations that are older may not, choose that aspect to be able to do for their bodies, but it doesn't mean that they're you know ill repute people, that they don't have good reputations or aren't good people. So I think that there's just a lot of perceptions that people are going to have, as we get older, and things, because back, I think probably when I was younger, tattoos were like military guys and bikers. You didn't see them on a lot of other people, right? And now they're like every day. They're very
Right.
commonplace. So
Yeah, I
people
mean,
may
I
have.
think we just have to, it's just like staging as a society. We have to just educate. And all we can do is continue to educate and say, hey, here's who I am. At the end of the day, I'm Deborah or you're Jenny. And if we both were to get cut and bleed, it's going to be red for both of
Right.
us. So we have to, and I think that that's this turning point that we are with what's happening, is to turn from this, from, the way we were, our perceptions and the things that we thought. Because, like I shared in the earlier show, it's not just that, let's just use this as an example. It's not just, okay, well, white people don't like black people. Some black people don't like white people. So it's discrimination both ways. It's not just one way. So, but we have to learn how to, cohabitate with each other, live with one another, and understand one another. And I think that that was the beauty in the virtual conference that we had this year. I know some people were a little bit apprehensive about it, but I only got great feedback in how that they thought, oh, I thought it was going to be boring. And they were like, oh, no, it was so good, and I thought it was really good that we got an opportunity to see into the different cultures, to see what they how they live, and what's important to them, so that we can be conscious of that when we are going into the homes. And I got feedback that, from my session, I got feedback from a lady that, your session was so helpful, Deborah, that I just had, some of the things you talk about happened this week, and I was able to overcome it. So that was really good. We got an opportunity to look into the different cultures, that we can bring it forward and say, hey, here's who we are. We're not weird if we're black. We're not weird if we're white. We're not weird if we're Indian, East Indian. We're not weird if we're Hispanic. We're not weird. We're just people, but we all have different ways that we have been doing things, for a while. And that was good. I really, really appreciated it. It was good.
And I thought Robbie's session was really well put together too, as far as, what's happening globally, and how to bring people together. And he uses music as a catalyst to do that, which I think is, really fascinating, how he's been able to have these different roles in his life. He talked about pivoting, and how he's had to reinvent himself, multiple times, and being able to take what he knew, and then be able to use that. And those of you that haven't watched this session, he was a musician, and then he was also a pilot. Now he's doing something else, but he was able to take his two loves of music and aviation, and do something with that at one point. And then now he's using music to bring different, cultures that are, in other parts of the world that if you listen to the news and things, oh, they hate each other, they will never get along, you'd never be in the same place together. And there they are playing music and dancing and collaborating together. And these are young people, and that's how you change the mindset of people that are taught that, because it is about, we talk about education. Education's great, but it can also be bad when people are educated in the wrong way. And I think about like little kids, at what point do they does this idea of skin color and inequality and race, and when does that start? Because when they're little, my kids never saw skin color. They saw hair color. That's how they would identify. So you would be Deborah with the black hair, or you'd be someone else with the blonde girl, or the red boy. It wasn't the skin color. And one of our kids, Austin, his best friend was this little kid next door, Trey, and they played together. And Trey he was a black kid, and they just never they didn't see skin color. And there's this I don't know if it's a movie or a meme, but they see this little white boy and a little black boy, and they're probably like first grade, and they're best friends, and so they go get their hair cut the same, so the teacher can't tell them apart. And it's just that innocence that's just so cute. So, at what point does that change for people? And it could be because of an incident that happens that triggers, fear or an opinion about a particular group of people that can cause that. But I think a lot of it is learned by the adults that they're around and other people there. And so, I have shared this that my grandfather, his generation, they were racist, and they would say names that weren't, and that's how they were taught too. I mean, some of the things that they would call different, like even a nut, a Brazil nut has a really derogatory former name to it that my husband's grandmother would call him, and that's what she learned. I'm not going to say it on the show, but it's a terrible word. That's what she learned how to call him, and so then it becomes a conscious thing, like for John to say, "Well, I'm not going to use that term," and so it stopped, right? And even with my grandfather, being upset that I attended a dance with a black boy in high school, and he's saying something to me about it, and me saying, "Stop. You're racist. That's not going to continue." And so I think the education comes with the parenting for a lot of these kids. And then I think a lot of it could be also situational or circumstantial or some incident that happens. But, the education can be good or detrimental. And so, but it has to start somewhere.
Right. And I think sometimes, parents aren't necessarily like telling their children this. It's just like you said, the kids are they're like sponges. They absorb everything that they see, hear, touch, all of that. So maybe it's a reaction to something, or how a person acts towards a situation or a person or something like that. Like example, if you see if some black person comes and sits on the bench, do you get up because you're scared and, nothing's occurred? Well, kids can see that, children can see that, so I think it's coming to understand our conscious habits and unconscious habits and things that we've done, or just that, that mindset. What's in the mindset? Do I feel like this? Do I think like this about, a particular people or a race of people or whatever? Just because, I mean, like you said, it's been handed down. What is my own opinion, or is that my grandmother's opinion, my great great grandmother's opinion? Like, what is my opinion of it? And I think that that's the question, and and that's the exploratory part that has to be done in order to move forward. And I feel like we're doing that as a country. I feel like that it definitely is moving in a positive direction.
And I also feel like the media in some regard too, has a big influence on people. If you think about it, and I know that now he's fallen from grace, but the Cosby Show back when they come out probably when we were high school or college or something like that. I'm trying to remember when it aired, but that was the first depiction of a black family of success. And they weren't like ghetto. You think before there was like Sanford and Son. I'm really dating myself, but he was like the junk man, and the terminology. And back then you had Archie Bunker, and he was purposely, that show, people would watch that now. I mean, he was so racist on purpose to get shock value. They made his character like that, and some of the stuff that he said and would do was just from that era. But it was to kind of, it wasn't a good thing. It wasn't like he was this, great character that, he gets to say these things. It was basically everybody knew that he's terrible for saying that, and they put that out there. And I don't really hear that on the shows anymore because it's very sensitive. But that was the first depiction. Cosby, I think, was the first depiction. Or the Jeffersons was the black and white couple. And Roxy Roker was the actress that played Helen, and her son is Lenny Kravitz. And so, but they played, I think it was probably one of the first mixed couples being shown on TV. So a lot of what we see on television impacts us. And so some of the shows like Cops, or these shows, the reality shows where they're hunting down criminals and stuff, it's not all black people they're hunting down, but for a large part, if you're watching those things, you're definitely going to form opinions about people out there and be biased. And so my advice is don't watch those shows because a lot of them are scripted. They're not really real. And,
Yeah, a lot
criminals
of it
come in
is
all different
very
colors.
scripted. It's
Yeah.
all about, in some cases, it's all about the, what do you call it? Mm,
The ratings.
ratings. That's it. Yeah, I couldn't
Yeah.
even think of it. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's all about the ratings. So, hey, if you can get more ratings, that's more money in their pockets. So, you're right. Some of it, some of it's not good to watch, not all the time, and form an opinion from it either. So,
Yeah. And kind of circling back to the staging industry, being able to clearly identify even how many people of color are in the industry, I think that I sort of did like my own, quick survey just from the home staging professionals group, from what I could identify from people. There were, whites are the, highest population in there, number of people. Then blacks were second highest. East Indian and Hispanic, not very well represented in the industry so far.
we gotta
I
get we gotta get that representation in there.
Yeah, and I think I did a consultation this week for a lady who's she's divorcing and beautiful home, and she had, oh my gosh, it was like a store. She had so much decor in there. I'm like, I could furnish 3 houses with all the stuff you have in here. And they were really cool, like really, really nice decorative objects. And I said, I asked her what she did, and she said she'd been a house manager, and then she'd gotten injured, and so she'd been off for a couple of years while healing and so forth. And I don't say this to every client. I talked to you about staging, did the consultation for you or not. Did I do your consult? I did your consultation. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Like, yeah, with Derek. And so, but I said to her, have you considered staging? And one of her responses was, I don't speak English very well. And her English was pretty good, like we conversed. And she said, I don't know how I would be able to do it. And so I sent her information, and I actually wrote to her and I said, what you think is a weakness is actually a strength, because there aren't many people who are bilingual stagers in the industry. Certainly we're in an area where there are a lot of Hispanic people who live here. And I don't, like as a stager, if there was a family that wasn't fluent in English and couldn't understand me, that would be a detriment in the process. She would be wonderful in that. And so I said, boy, there's a Hispanic Chamber of
Absolutely.
Commerce. There's all sorts of realtors that focus on that community. I said, you could get business like that. And so I said, what you think is your weakness is actually your strength. And so we do need to encourage more people from other backgrounds to get into the industry. And even, you think about the Asian culture, there's so many different, parts of Asia. I mean, you have, China, Japan, and Taiwan, and, the Philippines over by, the other side. And then you have Korea and Vietnam and so forth. And there's a lot of people who've come over from those countries that still speak that language. And so being able to relate to them, all the people who immigrated, even like Russia, there's a huge influx of Russians in the Sacramento area. And so, being able to encourage people that just because you don't speak, you're not a native English speaker, doesn't mean you wouldn't be successful in staging. And
Right.
there's market segments, they could carve out a whole niche working just within their culture and do really well, because
Yeah.
there's that relatability factor that somebody like I wouldn't have with them. So
Yeah, because I've gotten a call. I've gotten a call from a realtor, and he was like, "Hey, Deborah, I need you to do a consultation." I was like, "Sure, no problem." And he said, "But there's one problem." I go, "What's that?" He goes, "They don't speak any English. They only speak Spanish." I was like, "Oh, okay, that's a problem for me, not for them," because I don't. So I was like, "Wow, okay." So there's a big need right there for that, because people may not speak English, so it's having someone on the team or having somebody that I could pick up the phone and call. Luckily, I did. I have a lady that I knew that would, partner with me, another stager who could speak Spanish. But I was like, man, that's really a need right there. They need to, everyone needs to get as much money as they can from their home, and everyone needs staging, as we always say. So then it's how do we relate to them? And I think that, the conference was the start. We get a chance to understand each background, and now we're better equipped to move and reach out to those backgrounds. And maybe we don't speak Spanish, but at least we do understand, their culture, how they think, or you understand the Black culture, how they think. You understand the the East Indian, sorry, and the Asian. You understand them, which was, so huge. So I encourage everyone that didn't attend the conference that if you're on here today or in the future, to go and to sign up for the conference and listen to all of those speakers. Everything was really, really good, even though it's virtual. And the good thing about it being virtual is that you can rewind it, you can
Yeah.
start it back over if you didn't hear that part, and you always you have the access to it. So it's better than being in person where everything's going by fast and you stop for a minute and you start trying to write and then, oh man, that's gone. So it was really good.
Yeah, and I thought, yeah, that was one definite advantage. You could pause and go get a glass of water, go to the bathroom, come back and pick up, and you could watch it again. So I think I've seen the sessions 3 times, and each time I pick up something different. And I really had to, putting the test together, listening to the different points. And the test isn't meant to totally trick people, but it will let me know if people actually watched and paid attention to the questions, to the sessions. And I thought they were very insightful. I love what you even said about the, offered a beverage or something in a home. And most of the time we say, well, no, thank you, I'm fine. And yet if they persist, you don't want to insult them. So you realize culturally that would be an insult to
Right.
Black American culture. I thought, well, and I didn't realize that. And even with like deep teas, I shared this last week that the whole thing about the cow, we're all familiar with that, and people joke about it sometimes here in the U.S. about how the sacred cow, but it is really important to them. And so taking that to the staging perspective of the leather and the cowhide things, I thought, I've only one time had it was like a little chicken, a figurine or something in a kitchen, and these people were vegetarian, so they asked me not to put the chicken figurine on the counter. I'm like, no problem. But knowing that going into it, if you're working with an East Indian family, at least you can be sensitive or ask the questions like, do you have would it be okay if we use this, or would you prefer us not to? Because even
Right.
though they're not the ones buying their house, there could be somebody from that culture that comes in, and we just don't want to inadvertently, cause an issue for somebody to make them, feel badly about what we have in there and so forth. And um, I just think it was really fascinating to, for the things you could consider and think about when you're working with the different cultures. I just like learning about different cultures anyway. I mean, I don't know how many people have had the opportunity to travel. There's a lot of places I still want to go and see. I have been to South Africa. I went there when I was in high school, and we didn't go down to Cape Town. We mostly stayed in the Johannesburg area, but we did go to Kruger National Park. And then on that, and this was for a performance tour. And so we went to these little villages, and I'll never forget the chaperone, one of them, her husband and wife, they were from Texas, Kate Crawford, and so she had the big beehive hairdo, and she started the very first drill team, and she was the founder of it. So she was like the Barb Schwartz of drill team. So she had founded that in Texas, and then there were competitions, and so our high school was the number top school in the nation, and so we were able to go on this trip. It was paid for by people in South Africa, the De Vaderland newspaper, and then a perfume company, and then we had a photographer and a reporter that traveled with us. But when we went to these villages, Kay Crawford's husband Jim, kind of remember me like John Wayne. He was this big guy, not fat but tall, big white man. So when we went to these villages, these kids would just flock to him. They were like fascinated by this tall white man, and the kids were so cute. And they just were so happy, and and I think traveling, you really open your eyes to see that people are pretty much the same.
Yes,
They
I've
might have
traveled a
living.
lot. I've been to South Africa, so it's a beautiful place. And
Yeah.
yeah, you get a chance to actually see a different world, a
Mhm.
different mindset, and it's such a beautiful thing. So I encourage people, if you can travel, also to do that too. So I got a couple more countries I need to go to.
Yeah, we went to Japan um, when I was in high school, another awards trip. And so that one mostly stayed in Tokyo area, but then you had the opportunity to go around. But again, that culture, it was very, this was back in the, mid 80s. And so I just remember my impression of Japan was it was very clean. It was very densely populated, but very clean. And they loved America. So anything we could bring over. So we brought pencils from UCLA and some other things. And the kids, they'd always go like this if they saw us American. So it was just interesting to see. You do get an eye opener when you travel other places, and especially countries that are not like the United States. I mean, they're different culture, different even financially. If they're poor, you see. And we've gone to like La Paz, Mexico. We rented a house there as a family, and a very simple house. It had the only thing on the walls were a couple of blankets, and very, very stark. And I remember coming back from that trip, and Lauren and Stephen were babies, and I think I might have been pregnant with Austin. I can't remember, but I came back to my house, and I'm like, oh my God, we've got so much stuff. And I felt that way when we came back from Poland. We did a family trip to Poland, and a lot of the cultures in Europe, they shop in the market. They don't have these giant supermarkets. So I
Right.
remember coming back from that trip and just going into a Ralph's grocery store in Southern California and just seeing this wall of cereal and just feeling like, God, we have so much in this country, and it's almost like
Choices.
gluttonous. Yeah.
Yes.
So,
Very, very, very different when you
yeah.
go out of the United States.
And then,
Yeah, it was a little bit like that when we were over in Saudi Arabia, when we were over there for the Persian Gulf War. Yeah, I mean, the little kids would just come up to you. They were just so cute. I saw one. I was like, oh my goodness, I want to take her home so bad, and they were just so nice. And, they were just loving that we were there. And it was just so much fun. And, and you see, some of the things that they were playing with, and you get back to America, like you said, and, kids have like 20 toys and they're not even playing with them, and
right.
yeah, it's amazing. So
Yeah. I
we're
mean, so
blessed.
we definitely have an abundance in this country, and there's a lot of countries that don't have it. And I feel like at the heart of every human is that they want to be happy in life and be fulfilled and be allowed to live the way they choose. Um, and so that's the hope for the generations coming up, that remains. I just feel like what gets in the way is the politics and the power and the struggle and money, and at the real high level with these governments and so forth. And um, so a lot of times these people, they don't have a choice of
Right.
how they're forced to live. So that's a whole other topic for another day, right? Well, our time is up. I can't believe it. So thank you so much for being on. Any last words you want to share? How can people get more information on the SIDC?
So you can go on to iHouse.com, and there's a link there for the SIDC, and go ahead and fill out. It's a form. I need everyone to fill that form out, and I will get in touch with you. And yes, we do need your opinion. We do need to hear your voices. We do need feedback from you. We need you to be a part of the coalition if you're listening today. We do need that. And yeah, or you can call me. My number is 832-970-1519. Send me a text or give me a phone call. Whatever way is best to get a hold of me, Facebook, Instagram, or whatever. But we do need to hear your voices, especially if you are out there and you are experiencing any type of, you know, discrimination. Let us know. Let us see what we can do. Let's work through it before you are frustrated with the industry or anything like that. Whether you're an accredited staging professional or in any industry, I mean, in any training that you've gotten or any designation or accreditation, it doesn't matter. We're all here together. This is industry wide, so it doesn't matter, what your background is, but let's talk, let's work through it. Let's make some changes for the better for the industry and for our country.
Yeah, and you don't even have to be an IHOS member to participate. It's just basically want voices within the industry, because our industry is just not that big. I mean, statistically, 10,000 stagers maybe worldwide, if that. And so, we're a tiny microcosm of the real estate industry, and then a much teenier microcosm of society in general. So, being able to have a safe place, or place that people will listen and hear what you have to share, I think that's important, because that's really what it all boils down to, is hearing the stories, hearing what's going on, and then having empathy, and then taking action beyond that. So thank you for being on. I did put the sidcglobal.com is the website. And of course, Deborah gave her phone number. You can also find her on the IHOSP.com site on our board. So there's many ways to reach out and get the information you need. So thank you for being on, Deborah. I love you, and I appreciate
Good
you.
seeing you again.
Yeah.
I'll see you again in December though.
Oh, good. Yes.
Two
Yay.
times in 1 year.
Yes, it'll be fun. I'll look forward to it. Do you know when you're coming?
Around the 15th or so.
Yeah, it'll be my birthday present then. My
Okay,
birthday is
good.
the 16th. Yeah, so it'll be Deborah was here for my birthday.
Good.
Although I know you're coming to see the baby, which will be good. So,
Yes.
all right. So that's it for this week, everybody. So tune in next week. We'll have another show for you, and you can find all the different segments on homestagingtalk.com or on our iHusp YouTube channel. So thanks, Deborah, for being on. Bye, everybody. Thank you for tuning
Bye.
in. Bye.